All right, Max, you are back after 2.5 years. The last time we saw you, you were just about to watch, you had just seen Dune Part 2, but Jason and I hadn't seen it yet. So I want to start by just asking, how are you feeling for Dune Part 3?
Well, first of all, it's great to be back, and I just want you guys to know, right before the podcast, I took a Tylenol and a Claritin, which I call a sweet ball, and so I'm ready to go. But yeah, Dune Part 3, it looks really cool. I mean, part of the problem is I'm one of the lucky few, along with my friend Matt Karen, who's apparently listening right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm one of the lucky few who's read David Lynch's half-finished screenplay for Dune Messiah. So
Right.
so I'm coming from that. I'm coming from like people getting really tiny and going into the fibers of the carpet. I'm coming from Alia doing naked sword training or whatever. Yeah,
sure.
All that fun stuff that we never got, that we're not going to get with Denis. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it from the Denis perspective, which is he's doing the politics version of Dune. Like for me, Dune is like three spheres. It's like there's the spiritual, which David covered in his movie. There's the political, which Denis is covering, and then there's the environmental, which I think nobody has covered yet.
Right.
Yeah, no one's actually interested in the ecological story, which is the entire origin of the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it started with him surveying real sand dunes and stuff.
Yeah. Where's Jodorowsky fit in that? Like the psychedelic.
Someday someone will make the movie that is like the ecologically centered Dune. That's really about how Richard Nixon was the right president for America and not JFK. Like that'll be like the true the Herbert children will manage to get that one across the finish line.
They'll have a goal of Nixon. Like, do you miss me now?
One of our great climate presidents, Richard Nixon. So,
it's true.
Turns out.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things that was like, bugged me when I saw Disclosure Day, which was, the whole thesis of that movie is, when people find out there's really aliens, it's going to fix everything. And it's like, no, like we know for a fact that the climate is being destroyed right now. And like people just don't care because they've been, taught it's fake news, or like they just, it doesn't change the price of grapes or whatever, It's
I live up here. I'm during the summer, I'm up here in Oregon where there's a lot of wildfires this summer. And there are these horrible wildfires in Spokane, Washington, that like basically burnt 700 homes. And it was very, very scary. And I was like reading all the news about it. I've been following it really closely. And it was about 24 to 48 hours before this was like space lasers so that the Jews could buy up Spokane tweets started coming out. Like, I mean, it was like the same stuff you saw in the Maui fires. Like people will explain away, it will explain away. It's not even like, it's beyond motivated reasoning. It's like, hallucinatory reasoning, where it's like people will come up with these completely fantastic explanations for things that have very clear causes. And, just because they can't accept the actual revealed reality that we have fucked the planet, because there's nothing like really fun about. I mean, like there's no fix for it. Like it's just going to be hotter for the next 100 years, and like we're not, even if we stopped everything today, we're still going to be screwed. And there's not really a welcoming message on that. Anyway, great pod, everybody.
But just to play devil's advocate, we should think about big oil's feelings too.
Yes, exactly. Not all.
Yeah, no, but it's funny though, because like the one, I feel like I'm an archivist for, Dune and as a movie series, and they think that the one script I've read, honestly, that did it perfectly was like the least true to the book, which was Rudy Wurlitzer's script for Ridley Scott. And that one is bananas. It's almost crazier than the Lynch one, and it would have been hard R-rated. It would have been like a heavy metal comic book, like that kind of maximalism and that kind of, a tone, it's almost felt like something like Zack Snyder would have done.
And that was 72 or something?
The Rudy Wurlitzer one was after Alien.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it would have been
I see,
would have been late 70s, early 80s. But,
I see.
So
okay.
just before Lynch. But yeah,
Okay.
but that's the one that had the Paul and Jessica incest stuff and
Jesus.
yeah, like it was they were definitely pushing buttons and being edgelords with it. Yeah, but I guess Denny's been pretty good about riding the knife's edge of commerciality with what he's doing.
Well, you seemed mixed on when you saw Dune 2. You came at it fairly mixed, and I really liked the notion of taking Chani and putting her in conflict as a way to kind of hammering in more of the Paul as this is a dangerous thing, and I thought that was quite effective how they were able to do it. Although I at least still end up rooting for him through part 2. If it's like either you do this or everybody you love is going to be killed, even though there is a piece where he, is very explicit that this is about revenge.
Yeah.
They walk that knife's edge, I think, pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, and just to be clear, like the one I was really mixed about was Dune Part 1. I actually really loved Dune Part 2, specifically because I thought he made really smart choices with Chani, and Chani's basically Kay in The Godfather, and
right.
I just thought it was a really cool way to come at it, and of course, most of David Lynch's Dune is in Dune Part 1, so
right,
most of this stuff I was seeing for the first time on screen, so yeah, I was happy. I was very happy with Dune Part 2, and yeah, we'll wait and see if they can stick the landing here, but. It would have been. I think it would have been nice to have maybe a few more years gap just to let everybody grow a little bit. But it's fine.
We got to let Denny move on to other things, man. We got to release the genie from the bottle. He's got to
move on to more exciting original properties like James Bond.
Yeah.
Man, well, we'll see. We'll see how he does. But Max, we're super stoked to have you back on the pod. As you alluded to earlier, you've been very focused on Dune, and you wrote the book on it, A Masterpiece in Disarray, David Lynch's Dune, An Oral History, which is just a fantastic book. I love the reading it from the perspective of will they, won't they, in terms of get the interview with Lynch to try and see how that was going to happen and kind of like the unfolding of that. And all of the obvious love that so many people who were involved had for that project.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting for the Dino documentary, movie, limited series, whatever. Like, I can't believe that hasn't been done as an incredible story. It's just too wild. The legend.
Yeah. It's funny. I've said this on a couple of other shows, but for anybody listening who wants to buy the rights to A Masterpiece in Disarray to turn into like a Netflix show or something like that, like I will tell you just from my experience with the story, like the way to go in if you were to do the making of David Lynch's Dune. Rafaela is the main character, not David Lynch, and because she was the one holding everything together. She was speaking 7 languages on set. She was putting out all these crazy fires, and David is being quirky David the artist, and he'd be a great side character. But she's like a really young woman in her early 30s making this gargantuan science fiction epic in Mexico. I just think that's great.
This is great. Does Timothy play David? Like, how does that?
I think Paul Dano is who you get for David.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I saw a picture of David on the set of Eraserhead, and I was like, oh god, he looks just like Paul Dano.
Amazing. Well, and so you have a new book that is coming up, and that immediately popped out when I reached out to you to come back on the pod, and that drove the decision for what we're covering tonight as we finally phone home and cover E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. This is very exciting for the podcast.
Very exciting.
But you have the new book, Stranded on Earth, How Night Skies Became E.T. the Extra Terrestrial, coming up on October 27th. How are you feeling to get this one out there?
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Yeah, it was another 2-year odyssey, trying to pull this thing together. You know, it was one of those things where like I got a pretty decent advance this time, and I was like, right, if I you know, if I can get this out, if I can get it done by January, I'll be good. And we just finished it in July.
2 years later.
So it's like, yeah, it was a mad thing, and one of the most crucial voices in the whole book I didn't get until right before we went to press.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a nail biter, and I think people are going to really be fascinated with this story because it, you know, like David Lynch's Dune, E.T. is one of the few mega properties left from that era, that 80s era of you know, golden era of science fiction that hasn't really been given a proper, you know, book. There have been a couple books and a couple documentaries and stuff, but they're all official and they're all kind of soft pedal, and you know, and it's like they got great access to, like, you know, documentary footage and you know, and documents and things like that. But you know, the trade-off is they can't go into a lot of the stuff that I can as an unofficial, unconnected, you know, person. Yeah, like Amblin had absolutely no involvement with this. They made that very clear to me. And yeah, so it's fun, and that's what makes it fun. It's like the rogue E.T. book. You know, it's the dark side of E.T. or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Sick.
But yeah,
and strung out on crack.
Yeah, E.T. hitting on Drew Barrymore in the room. Yeah, no, it's but it, you know, it's just because it's unofficial doesn't mean that like I go to, like, you know, salacious places. It's just very honest about the business and the creative process, and you know, and you know, some of the eggs that Spielberg had to break to make that
Well, we're gonna mine some of that. We'll let you keep your secrets for when the book comes out. Is it gonna have the same kind of filigree on the edges as Disarray? Because like the red and the blue both are gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, we didn't do that because the idea of sending a book to China and the kind of taxes we're going to get on that right now, it just
right.
Yeah, so I mean, last time the book got held up by a typhoon.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, like this one, we are doing something fun with the cover. And when you buy your copy of Stranded on Earth, How Night Skies Became E.T. the Extra Terrestrial, out October 27th, you will find a special something with the cover.
And are you reading the audiobook?
I hope to. Yeah. We're sort of figuring out the most economical way to do that, because I just put out an audiobook of Masterpiece in Disarray, which is now it's available on Audible. You can get it, but. Yeah, and you know, every mistake we could have made, we did. It was a long process. I mean, part of that was because we actually did, like, you know, we hired a cast, you know, because it can't just be me doing an oral history for 16 hours, you know. So we have like, you know, an actor doing all the male voices, an actress doing all the female voices, and it was just, and then I'm doing all the interstitial stuff. It's just a lot of editing and a lot of all that stuff. So yeah, so I think this one's going to be more streamlined. This one is not an oral history anyway, so it'll lend itself more to just being, you know, just one dude doing it. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really fun. But I mean, I'm just excited for, you know, like if you're listening to this and you're a Spielberg fan, Stranded on Earth is like Easter, Christmas, and Hanukkah all rolled into one for you. So we don't. It's not just talking about, you know, the evolution of Night Skies into E.T. You know, which if your readers if your listeners don't know, you know, Night Skies was a horror movie with aliens that you know, it was aliens attacking a farm family.
It's like an assault. Yeah,
it was basically straw dogs with aliens, and it was going to be really scary. It was going to be really cool, but Spielberg got cold feet, and then they overhauled the project, and it became the movie we're going to talk about today. And and it's you know, that in and of itself is very cool and takes up a lot of the book. But then we also talk about, you know, what led into that. You know, we get into Close Encounters. We get into Spielberg's high school movie, Firelight, which was another alien movie. And then we get into all the stuff that sort of came downstream after. You know, we talk about Poltergeist and Gremlins and how Night Skies fed into that. And and then other more contemporary, you know, things like Signs and Nope, and you know, if there was a movie with a farm and some aliens, I'd talk about it.
That's great.
That's a wide net. It's a wide net.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to get into E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Before we do, Jason, next week.
Yes.
We're off, baby.
Oh, thank God. I'm in St. Louis, baby. I'm
Are you
returning
ready?
to the motherland. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready
How
to
is it?
sweat.
Yeah. What do you got going on over there when you're in the homeland?
I don't know. It's been 7 years or 6 years since I've been home. So it's not like I have like, but I mean, it'll be, so Juniper's first time ever there, Griffin's first time since he could remember, and so we'll hit all the classics. We're going to do a lot of eating to do, St. Louis style pizza, toasted raviolis, got to get like all the greatest hits. Food wise,
is there barbecue?
There's the City Museum, which is really cool. We'll hit that up, and we'll go to see my mom, her house, my brother, his wife.
Is St. Louis where Skyline Chili is from?
I don't know.
That's
what
Cincinnati.
Skyline Chili is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's Cincy.
All right.
My wires crossed.
Close.
Yeah.
Close
Every Midwestern town has its own, like culinary staple that's horrible for you and probably not that good, but like is revered. And I love St. Louis style pizza. I make no apologies for it. I think it's great. So I'm excited to have it.
I guess I'll be eating Pace hot sauce because I'm going to be in New York City.
Okay.
So pretty excited about that. We go to Outside Lands for one day on Friday. I go see Sierra Farrell and Geese. You up to date on Geese, you guys? Like big indie band?
Yeah, I'm familiar. The children like it.
The children love it. And then flying out the next morning at like 4:30, and then we'll be running around in New York midweek next week, and then back.
It's great.
So very exciting. But when we come back a following week, we have Sarah Bakepour is returning to the pod. The goat. And I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, listen, it's still hot Nolan summer. It is time to do The Dark Knight. The film bros can feel it in their bones. Someone else is talking about The Dark Knight finally. So
I love it.
Very, very, very excited. Can we do some quick Hatch news?
Hatch news from beyond.
Guys, the box office, is it back?
Yeah, the box office is back in a big way. We've solved it. The answer is Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom Holland and Zendaya. That is what is required to fix all of our woes. Pretty incredible.
$430 million. $360 million for Spider-Man Brand New Day, $50 million for the Odyssey in its fourth weekend.
Yeah.
But Brand New Day did $932 million worldwide opening weekend. Pretty good.
Without IMAX. I mean, they had premium formats, but they had held over IMAX for Odyssey. They'll get IMAX this weekend, and it will blow past $2 billion on its second weekend.
I love how what a fair weather friend IMAX was to the Odyssey.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we didn't know about the spider situation.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the same. It's the same deal that Denis got for Dune Part 3. It's 3 weeks of exclusive, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is interesting. I am formally, like, I already know that I've lost my Kalshi bet because I had bet $25 that Doomsday would move off of December 18th.
Right.
But I am now here I am now officially here to say that I was wrong, and Avengers Doomsday is going to do absolutely blockbuster numbers. They have just proven that they don't need IMAX. Dune's going to do fine. Dune will do big numbers, but Avengers Doomsday is going to absolutely crush opening weekend.
It probably will. I do think the special sauce that is Spider-Man, that is the Tom Holland Spider-Man, is kind of worth dialing into because Tom Holland is now in 4 out of the top 5 top grossing box office weekend movies of all time. And the reality is that there's we went to go see it opening weekend. We brought the kids. We loved it. The kids particularly liked how much the Punisher swears in it. And they really pushed the PG-13 with a liberal sprinkling of shits. They love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think the movie is great. It's really fun. The action's tremendous. It's like darker and grittier and like sadder, and like Spider-Man gets fucked up. A lot of heart. Yeah. But it is connected to like the meta narrative about it. Like you are aware that you're watching like Tom Holland and Zendaya who are married, and like there's like this there's something about that makes it that like draws you in, at least for like a certain type of film watcher. And their like on-screen chemistry is phenomenal, and like it's just it's really great. Like he's like he's the fucking ascendant goat right now. Like like it's all he needs to do is for this fucking dancing movie to open huge and be a huge hit and get like an Oscar nomination. And then it's all of a sudden he's like the return of the movie star. Like it'll be a whole other thing.
I can actually chime in a little bit on this because I don't know if you guys know, I write for Box Office Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but so I cover the box office extensively, and like one of the sort of the buried things, besides after Brand New Day became the biggest opening weekend of all time, this was also the biggest weekend of all time for the box office. I think the previous was for Endgame, which was like 402 million.
Right.
This was over 430, and and now just talk bringing it back to Doomsday, will Doomsday break 500 million? Will it do 600 million? Are we going to get two movies that just Barbenheimer each other?
Yeah.
And like some kind of a crazy blockbuster dyad or whatever. Yeah, like it's going to be, is it going to be like the craziest thing ever, which is like multiplexes packed to the gills?
Yes, it is.
We have 10 screens and we're just showing two movies.
That's it. Yeah. I think it's going to be completely crazy.
It is interesting, like from a solipsistic perspective, like the period in which like the movies were over was the period in which I had like very young children, like newborns and like toddlers. And now movies are back in the age in which I can take my kids to the movies. And like, we took them to see Spider-Man Brand New Day, and we will take them to see Dune 3. We've watched both of the Dune movies as a family together before. And so it's like now, like, it's like, all right, like movies are back and like, I'm helping, like, we're in it.
I'm doing my part.
It feels exciting.
Yeah. I took my 4-year-old to Brand New Day because she loves Spider-Man. And like, I gotta say, I have issues with that movie. I think it's way too fucking long.
It's way too long.
She was in it. She was in it to win it. Like, she's stayed in her seat the whole time, and she was following along. So they must be doing something right. If my 4-year-old can sit for that thing, then
I completely agree. I was like, no one took a bathroom break during the movie.
No.
And like, it was just like, people were committed to Spider-Man. It was really fun. And we had watched No Way Home the night before to sort of prep everyone.
We watched it a week before. Yeah, that was helpful.
And the kids rate Spider-Man Brand New Day as like 5 out of 5. Favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Better than Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. Like it is. I think little kids are very recency biased, but it was a huge family hit in the Goldman home.
Sam's favorite bit was small potatoes, big potatoes. He just kept quoting that all weekend long.
The kids were really excited to see Princess Irulan and Shawnee. They were like, wait a minute, what is going on? Like, I was like, yeah, it's a thing.
That's really funny. All right. Well, that was great. It was really fun to go see that at my local theater, which added Atmos so that it could be called Infinity Vision. So it was awesome to be
We
able
saw
to
it in
see
Screen X, baby. We saw it with the shit on the side.
Whoa.
Which is fine.
Yeah, the one I don't like is, I don't remember what it's
40?
called.
40X?
Is 40X the one where like
where they punch
you in the back? Yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah. Francis well,
I'll
Florence Pugh. Sorry, I don't know why I always call her Francis. That's a
no, thank you.
I'll see I Want Your Sex in 40X.
How is that supposed to be? That people like that movie? Is that out?
It didn't do well. It did not do well. No, I think it's just really hard to sell an erotic thriller, even if it's an erotic comedy thriller.
Is it Greg Araki?
Yeah, it's Greg Araki, and so he's not like big box office anyway.
He has never fucking done a thing for me, man. That guy, there's something about the way that guy is wired that like my brain.
Movie?
The teenage one,
the Doom Generation.
Doom Generation, yeah.
Never saw it.
There's something about that guy, the way that like my brain reads him as a threat. I'm just like, it's not for like whatever this is not for me.
But
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde is getting all the accolades for The Invite, for her
Yes.
direction.
Everyone loves The Invite,
apparently
which
is-
I haven't seen.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
saying her direction in particular is like completely next level, which is wild.
Mhm.
I'll be excited to see that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
excited.
mean, I liked her first movie, the one that was
Don't
like,
worry, darlings.
huh?
Booksmart.
Booksmart.
Really?
Yeah, the one that's like super bad for girls. I loved it.
Great movie.
Great.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic movie. All right. So 2 other quick pieces of Hatch news. Jason, Hot D is rounding the corner. Are you up to date? Did you watch?
I'm not up to date. I'm not up to date. Well, I ended up in.
boy.
I don't think I've seen past episode 3. It was sort of a thing where I ended up ahead of. I watched it without Crystal, and then like I was like I want to be able to watch this together, and then we never have, and so I'm just not watching it, and I'll get to it. We will eventually get to it.
Okay. Good shit is happening. Are you watching, Max? Are you watching the show?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
House of the Dragon.
House of the
Sorry.
Dragon.
Oh yeah, I was like Hot D. That could be a show. That could be a show with like gay hockey players or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I don't watch any of the
Thrones
the Game of Thrones spin-offs or whatever. I mean, like I made it through. All right, I think I was like, I'm done.
You got
I'm
there.
good.
You got
like
there.
I actually I'm like a last episode of Game of Thrones apologist. I liked it.
Wow.
You know, like everybody was like, they rushed through it. I'm like, you wanted more. You wanted them to keep going.
You didn't get enough.
You wanted them to keep like two characters get on a boat and leave 2 other characters on the shore. You know, and that keeps happening over and over again. You're like, oh my god, we're on 57 plot threads now.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. It was ready to be wrapped up.
Yeah.
There were a couple decisions that didn't quite work for me.
Yeah. I feel bad for anybody who got a Daenerys tattoo.
Fair. Yeah.
But I also started, Jason, over the weekend, speaking of our friends, Lucky, which stars our dear Saint Aaliyah of the Knife. We have Anya Taylor-Joy in her action star mode.
That's great.
And this is Jonathan Tropper, who, he even in the pilot on this podcast, he did Long Kiss Goodnight, and he has a Long Kiss Goodnight homage, like right in the pilot.
Ooh,
yeah,
I have
good
to watch
shit.
this one.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm only 1 episode in, so I would say check that out, folks.
Great. I will watch that.
Good. Thank you. All right. Are you guys ready to get into this movie?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. E.T. the Extra Terrestrial is the story of how we find family in the unlikeliest of places. Way back in 1982, when a spaceship of gentle alien botanists is startled from a quiet California forest by government men, one of their members is accidentally left behind, frightened and alone in a world of backyards and cul-de-sacs. But his luck changes when he is found by Elliot, a 10-year-old aching from his parents' recent divorce, who sees in him a kindred spirit, coaxes him inside, and hides him from the grown-ups with the help of his older brother Michael and little sister Gertie. As Elliot and the creature grow closer and discover that they each experience what the other feels, they embark on a mission to allow him to phone home and finally return there. But as he grows sick and shadowy agents close in, Elliot and his pack of neighborhood kids will make an impossible dash on their BMX bikes, risking family and freedom so they can at last say goodbye to E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. Good stuff. All right. I was 12 in 1982, so I saw E.T. in the theaters and loved it. Saw it many times, watched it on video, etc., etc. What was your first experience with E.T.?
So, I mean, I feel like I was less than 1 when it came out, so I probably did not see it in a movie theater. Might have seen it when it came out re-release in 1985.
Okay.
But I know for sure that we got that VHS tape in 1988 when it finally hit VHS. For those who don't know, they kept that to themselves for a long time. You know, like from 1982 to 1988, no home release, and then finally, they did it. And of course, we wore that tape to the nub. Like that movie was amazing. But there is like this weird, like kind of a cultural dissonance when it comes to E.T., I think. Because like, I think there's the movie and then there's sort of a collective consciousness of the movie, which sees it as something that I don't know if it actually is, which is, I think, more an impression of the marketing and the merchandising and the sort of the cutesiness of all that. It's actually not a cutesy movie. It's like a pretty,
Right.
honest depiction of, the way children behave and in emotions. And, it's a story about, surviving a divorce and learning to let go. And yeah, like it's a much different movie than I think, it's perceived, as this sort of kids Disney kind of thing about, a cute alien, but it's like the alien isn't even that cute. He's kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think I have a quote from Mr. Spielberg in the book where he said it looks like a toad that's been sat upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Squashy.
Like,
we're gonna spend some time on the design for sure. I definitely want to get.
Yeah.
I want to get into that in detail. But Jason, what about you? What was your first time?
Saw it in the theater. I was 6 years old.
Nice.
Saw it in the theater. Was pretty emotionally affected by it, like the E.T. dying, Elliot dying. Despite that, was eager to show it to my kids because I think it was like, let's just see what happens. And I think because it was like somewhat affecting to me as a kid, it's not a movie I've rewatched a ton. We had it on VHS, I'm sure, and I've seen it, like I've seen it enough. I've seen parts of it enough. Like when I was rewatching it last night, I was like, yeah, okay, like I know all the things in there, but like I probably haven't seen it in like 40 years or something. Like
Wow.
it's not one that I've really revisited a ton. And so seeing it last night, I was kind of like approaching it with like, and the sort of the comment that you made about Max about like, like there's a way in which it's remembered because of the marketing and the cultural phenomenon it became, the biggest movie of all time of it all, that I think is distinct from the actual experience of watching it. Like the actual experience of watching it it's a different kind of movie than like, oh, it's this like story of like, childhood wonder and love and cutesiness or, whatever. It's like, there's aspects of that where emotionally it really works, but there's a whole other layer that's like, that's none of that. That's like, that's kind of like the classic Spielbergian stuff from this period. That's about families in crisis, families having difficulty, like the nature of secrets in suburban life, like all of that stuff. Yeah. So it was really interesting revisiting it last night.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that the last episode we did together was Eraserhead, and this is like Eraserhead. E.T. is a movie that hits you way different once you've had kids.
Totally. Yeah, and it's like when I saw the movie when I was 6, my parents were at divorce, so like the whole aspect of it being about divorce, I don't think I was really conscious of.
No,
and like now you're sort of seeing the movie through the mom's eye a lot more as a parent.
Yep.
It's a very different experience watching it. I should say I saw it in like 4K, last night, and I hadn't seen it in like, I like probably saw it in like pan and scan. Like I probably saw it like once in its original aspect ratio, and since then have always seen it like chopped up or whatever. And so it was interesting seeing it like in a really good version.
Yeah. I was like, wow, Elliot really likes the Hulk. There's Hulk crap everywhere.
Yeah. You get to see it. You can see all these details, all of this, like all of this stuff that's layered in the background. It's very interesting.
But so much Star Wars. Like Star Wars is
so much Star Wars.
Saturating
big impact.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah.
There's something
which felt like correct for like, I mean, it was 1982. It was like the absolute peak.
Yeah. And if we get to talk at all about Night Skies later, I definitely want to bring up an interesting Star Wars connection there. But like, I do, just in general, I do enjoy that. That these guys are talking to each other through their movies, like Spielberg's putting Lucas's stuff in his, and then later the ETs show up in Phantom Menace, and it's fun.
It's really fun. And the notion of like what all came out of USC and, Milius, who people thought was going to be the best of all of them, just that group of people that were kind of doing their thing then, and was just really, really, really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so let's do some behind the scenes. So, Max, I usually run this portion, but I'm going to kind of like have you give us, walk us through kind of some of the initial parts here for how Night Skies was starting up. And then my one question I have is, was Sid Sheinberg involved? Was he part of this process at Universal?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still in the mix.
Can't do anything
Still
without
in the
Sid,
mix,
baby.
yes. Another, and there are definitely some crossover with the Dune book, in terms of, some recurring characters that I got to talk to, and some new ones too. Although I had a difficult time tracking. I wanted more executives, but like a lot of them are dead.
Yeah, it's a long
So
time
I
ago
mostly
now.
talked to the ones who were kind of young at the time. But yeah, like it was very much an old man's, kind of, business running studios at that time. And, you were just getting this influx of the younger executives, like, just like you were getting the influx of young filmmakers like Spielberg and Lucas. But yeah, no, it doesn't start at Universal. It starts at Columbia. Because it began life as a direct sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mhm.
And and it was meant, Spielberg for some, I think he tinkered with the idea of bringing back Roy Neary and following all that up, but like I think at the end of the day, he didn't want to repeat himself and he didn't want to direct it. So what he did was the UFO advisor on Close Encounters was a guy named J. Allen Hynek, who was one of the sort of at the forefront of popularizing experiencer stories and things like that. And one of the events he was involved with during his time, with the government was this real, I'm using air quotes here, real event called the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, which was basically a farm family, saw these alien creatures outside their house and they fired at them with shotguns and stuff. And yeah, it's a whole involved story and we get into it in the book. But and Spielberg heard that story and it stuck with him. And he said, I want that to be the sequel to Close Encounters. And so basically, and then for various reasons, they had to fictionalize it heavily, and it became a sort of a contemporary, early 1980s contemporary story, about a family, who's basically attacked by a group of nefarious aliens, and one of them, a character named Buddy, Buddee, he befriends the little boy in the family. And that element sort of became the kernel of what E.T. became. And it's a lot of similar things, like with the psychic connections and all that stuff. It's there, and the phoning home. It's all there. And then most famously, the script was written by John Sayles. Fantastic, and the script ends with Buddy, the nice alien, being sort of ditched by the bad ones. They go away. He's left on Earth, to sort of fend for himself. Spielberg reads that and he says, "I don't want to do this movie. I want to do that."
Right.
Yeah. And which is sort of
and
a similar.
Sayles,
Yeah.
Sayles at that point they didn't have him do another one. They went to Melissa to write it up.
Yeah, they approached John Sayles to write E.T., but the problem was, he was contracted
by Columbia
by Columbia and Spielberg to develop this script, which he did, over several months, and then but he's lining up other things. So so that aspect wasn't particularly dramatic. It was just it was like, I'm too busy. I'm directing a film. I'm writing a film, and but he read Melissa's treatment. He's like, oh, it's pretty good. Like just go with this. So I mean that's the simple version. It's a lot more complex in the book, but basically, so, but part of the problem too is, Spielberg had hired a director, Ron Cobb, and he was the one who was developing this project.
Ron Cobb?
Yeah, Ron Cobb, the designer. You know him from Alien.
Goated, of course.
Yeah, he was the best.
Dune.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did some ornithopters for Jodorowsky's Dune. He did basically the whole look of Alien. He did, all the
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian. He was the production designer.
Of course.
Yeah, so he was going to direct it, and he was working with John Sayles on the script, and and so he was doing that, and then he had to go off and do Conan, and then while he's off of doing Conan, Rick Baker, one of the greatest makeup artists of all time, was doing the aliens.
Wow.
And and they were very far along in that process. Like they did tests, which I saw. I actually archived them.
Was the design similar or very different or
very similar? See?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Crazy.
That's a sticky point, but we're very
a sore point.
It's for sure. Yeah. But it's we're very blunt about it in the book. We're very, I have many people who attest, basically Carlo Rambaldi, kind of just took a lot of those elements. Like it's not 1-to-1, but if you see the images of Rick Baker's Alien and then you do it back to back with E.T. It's sort of like, yeah.
You kind of,
You know?
we see what you did.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
funny.
And so, so like I said, many elements from Night Skies, get ported over to E.T., but E.T. is unique unto itself, and it is a very different project, and totally different tone, totally different feel, and of course, like, the biggest aspect is, Spielberg put more of himself into it, which is why he eventually decided to take it away from Ron Cobb and direct it himself, because it's like, it is him processing his parents' divorce.
Childhood.
His childhood, it's not wholly autobiographical, but it is pretty autobiographical.
He started it in Close Encounters, and he's still working on it
through Fablemans.
Through
Fablemans, yes. That's incredible. And I want you to continue to spring production details, sprinkle them as we go through this conversation, but that's an incredible start there. I guess the thing that I will just lay out that is amazing, the budget on this film, $10.5 million. So it's 2/3 of a Star Wars. Worldwide box office, Jason.
Yeah.
$197 million.
That's such a crazy number.
Them in 1982.
Did you adjust it?
No.
It's 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I referenced it last week, the excellent book, The Future Was Now. But this movie came out in the summer of 1982, which was the greatest summer of all time for cinema, as we have in theaters Blade Runner, The Thing, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, Poltergeist, Tron, Conan the Barbarian, Officer and a Gentleman, and Tootsie, and many others. Just like
the best little whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah, of course.
Which I did an audio commentary for Kino Lorber, by the way. If anybody.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Yes. Nice. Just, this was my year, man. I was 82. I was 12, and it was just perfect. Like life was right. So,
there will never be another summer like that.
No,
it was a perfect storm, coming just a few years after Star Wars, but also still coming off the tail end of the 70s. So you're getting like a really interesting mix of movies that are both populist and also have that kind of 70s bleakness, like Blade Runner and The Thing are 70s movies. You know?
Yeah, totally. On the cusp. Yeah, for sure. But they look so good and they're so different. The technology is just advancing so fast.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. All right. Well, so Max, where do you want to start? What is the first kind of major thread you want to pull on here for this film?
Well, we can talk about the very beginning of the movie, which is, essentially the end of Night Skies, where this alien has been left stranded on Earth, hence the title of my book. I picked that title for a reason, because that is the crossover between the two projects. And there's even the shot of E.T., in the forest, with all the, the huge trees looming over. That's a very similar to a shot that John Sayles describes in Night Skies of Buddy just sort of in the middle of this, farmland, by himself. And but even the description, the very first sentence of Melissa Matheson's script is, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's something like, we look up at the night skies as stars begin to poke through in the darkness. Something like that. So it's like even the first.
It was in there.
Even the first paragraph of the script is referencing the project that came before. And it's a great place to start. I mean, it's interesting too, because I wish. I really, not to get too neg, but like I really, I've heard this from so many other people too. It's not just me. Like I really wish Spielberg had kind of taken his own advice on Disclosure Day, because it's like I feel like the end of Disclosure Day is sort of where Disclosure Day should have started. I don't know if you guys have heard that from other people, but like I so many people I talked to were like, I wish it had just started there, and that would have been a more interesting place to go. But it's. I think, the idea, of loneliness, which is something, it's a big part of Spielberg's
universal experience.
It's very universal. Like the whole film is sort of tapping into a lot of, big universal themes and relatable themes, another big one, which we can get into, is the story of Jesus, which I don't know if you guys have ever broached that with this movie before, but it's like,
it's strong.
It's really
it's
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The robes.
The robe at the end was definitely.
You see his Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
He's found in a shack. The mother's name is Mary. It's
what is Steven Spielberg's relationship with Jesus such that he is?
I don't know, but he Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then even in Disclosure Day, you've got a lot of Catholicism and stigmata and all that stuff in play. Watching it last night, I watched it with my daughter, and it was interesting. But like the scene where Elliot takes Gertie and Michael into like their closet or whatever, they got a window that looks like a church window. It's like it's not subtle at all.
No, definitely not. I mean, when he shows up with the robes, like resurrected, I mean, like there's a resurrection in the movie. I think that's like kind of, and like there's a resurrection of a character who can heal.
Yeah.
Can I just ask? So what happened there? So he kind of like did a fake out on the death, or did
my read of it this time was that, and Max, you can tell us the definitive answer, I guess, but like my read of it this time was that he had to die in order to save Elliot, because like Elliot was dying along with it, was too connected. Yeah. So part of it was like, okay, I can't let this kid die. I'm gonna disconnect from him and die instead. So that was thing one. And then thing two was like his resurrection starts with the heart light going on, which is like the proximity alarm for the people being nearby. So I interpreted this time as like, oh, like he's back because like his folks are nearby, and like that like has like they're amping him up. Yeah, for the last little bit of
you're exactly. That's absolutely the correct reading, and it's said in the film too. Like Elliot's like, does that mean they're coming?
Yeah.
So. It's textual, but it is also representative of a higher thing, which is actually a part of other Spielberg films, which is the idea of a hive mind or a collective consciousness. Like you see it a little bit in Close Encounters with the mind implantation. And then in this movie, obviously, E.T. forms like a psychic bond with Elliot, and then you really see it in Minority Report with the 3 precogs. That's a huge component of that, because like the whole thing is like once he takes Agatha out of the pool, it's like the pre-crime can't function.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I mean, going right up to Disclosure Day, just the general theme of empathy is an enormously important part of the Spielberg oeuvre.
I'd remembered elements of the frog breakout scene, which I thought was really funny, but I had completely forgotten the extent to which it goes to, including the synchronization of what E.T. is watching on screen and Elliot, dancing with and then kissing Erica Eleniak. Who would go on to have a career later on. Like, it was just wild, that scene.
Yeah, he's watching The Quiet Man, directed by John Ford, played by David Lynch in The Fabelmans.
Wow.
Yeah. You shoot it from above, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Jason, what's
your
first point?
If the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit.
Yeah. So funny.
And just the hugest kudos to Spielberg for that casting and that moment. Like that was
really great.
That's beautiful.
So stoked that Lynch got to do that. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. Jason, what's your first point, bud?
Well, I watched this movie with my kids, as mentioned. And it was, it was fun to see it through their eyes. They gave this movie a 3 out of 5, so 2 points lower than Spider-Man Brand New Day. But they liked it, and I think like they liked the swearing in it for sure. And Juniper in particular loved the penis breath. Juniper loved the penis breath. And it's funny because I remember seeing this movie, and for some reason I think I saw this with my grandmother when I saw it in the theater. And I remember she said afterwards, she's like, it was a great movie, but I don't know why they had to ruin it with that penis breath thing. Like, she was like really offended by that for some reason. Anyway.
It's a wild line.
It is
For
a
a
funny
kids
line.
movie.
It's a pretty good line.
If you want to know where it comes from, buy my book.
Oh, what a great tease. I love
know where
that.
penis breath came from.
I love that. That's a great
Okay,
tease. No,
good.
you should definitely keep that for the book. So I liked sort of what they liked about it. They kept asking me, is this what the 80s was really like? Like that was they're like, it was the 80s like this? And in particular, like the thing that they like were noticing was like sort of how, like, this wasn't their word, but how permissive and how like sort of like how little there were rules seemingly in the 80s. Like
Right.
Griffin's favorite part of the movie is when the bikes go over the cop car or like the, you know, US government car at the end. He loved that. He loved the idea of being able to ride your BMX bike over a car. He loved the idea of like being able to, you know, sort of ride your bike through the backyards of your neighbors and like, you know, sort of like, go over, go through the backyards and you wouldn't get in trouble for like riding through someone's garden or whatever.
How about just being
And I was
left
like,
at home alone? Like,
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
be
that was,
back later.
and that was the thing. Yeah, that was the thing that both Crystal and I looked at each other like, wow, like, because she leaves like the 6-year-old at home in this movie.
I'll be
She
back
leaves
in 10
Gertie.
minutes.
I was like, holy shit, like that, you would go to jail, I think, if you left your 6-year-old, like, you know, like seriously, it seems so extreme, the idea of leaving a 6-year-old there, that like
Yeah.
I was really quite stunned.
But it was true. Like I was a latchkey
Yeah.
kid from age 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's really what it was like.
I don't think we were. I don't remember the first time I was left alone because I had a younger brother. I was definitely, it was definitely younger than I would ever leave my kids alone. But yeah, like they go out on Halloween by themselves. Like, and obviously it's a problem that he ends up sleeping in the woods by himself. Like the cops end up showing up. But like, still, it seemed like a remarkable thing that everyone was like excited about.
I was going to say, Jason, if Junie and Griffin slept outside looking for an alien creature up in Bend, would they still be there in the morning? Like, it does not seem like a good idea.
I mean, in Bend in particular would be fine, because
Oh,
like
good.
Bend is like, there's no predators, and it's just like we're stupid safe, and like, I don't lock my car doors or anything here. So
there's like deer and whatever. So like,
there's deer, and like we actually the big kind of animal infestation we're dealing with this week is I've got a paper wasp's nest that we have to get rid of, but like, it's like that's not the end of the world. And then we've also gotten some frogs. Oh, we had a frog hop in the house the other night, but aside from that, it's like bunnies and shit. Like it's really,
we've had lots of coyotes up here, coyotes, as I would say.
Yeah.
But then also apparently on one of our favorite trails very close by, my buddy said he was running and saw both a mountain lion mother.
Okay. Oh wow.
And then coming
That's
back,
serious
saw
business.
a mountain lion cub.
Yeah.
And was like, I need to get the fuck out of here immediately.
Yeah, that's legitimately scary. We've had I think ticks are the thing, like, are sort of the biggest parental concern out here, just because, you don't want to have ticks.
I only noticed for the first time last night that there was a raccoon by E.T.'s corpse.
I noticed that I totally noticed that too. Juniper noticed it right away. She's like, oh, raccoony. I was like, yeah, they're friends.
There's Rocket. There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not like 2 minutes away from eating his eyeballs. That's definitely not what's happening here.
Right. About to happen.
Yeah. Eating sick ET's face off.
Well, the other thing about that was very 80s of it is apparently every home kitchen looked like a Pizza Hut.
Yeah, they had that weird like fake Tiffany lamp, and like it's all booth seating. I did like the booth seating. I thought that was kind of nice. Solution. There's kind of a wild age gap on these kids. Like, it seems like maybe Gertie was unplanned. I don't know, but like, it's like I did really like I like the house. I noticed one note that like the most unrealistic thing about the house is that shared closet, which is like totally just in there to like enable like film, like to enable like, the stuff they want to do for the film or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense as like something anyone would ever have in their home.
It's a huge walk-in shared closet.
It's a huge walk-in Jack and Jill closet. Like it's a real wild choice.
Yeah, bunch of Annabelle dolls everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of stuffies at this house.
Yeah.
Like, they really.
What's the deal, Max? So this was shot in Culver City. Like, what was the deal with the studios where they filmed this?
So, a really interesting thing about E.T. is it came at this juncture of Spielberg's career where people were a little unsure about him. It's probably the last time, and
Yeah.
anybody was
because
like
of 1941.
yeah, because of 1941.
Still lingering.
It absolutely had an impact on his entire career. And Universal had already turned down one project that he had submitted to be as a directorial project, and
Crazy.
he owed them a project, basically. So that's why ultimately it went from it's a whole convoluted thing that we get into with a lot of executives talking about all the ins and outs of the deal, but basically like he was obligated to do a movie for Universal, going back to the beginning of his 7-year contract that he signed when he did Night Gallery in 1969. So
that's such a crazy contract.
Yeah, he owed them a movie. And he, a lot of people contend that E.T. was kind of, tossed off. It was like I'm gonna just do this.
All right,
I'm gonna do this.
I'm just gonna get this one done.
Yeah,
get some
this
fucking
quick
kid
little
shit
thing
in here.
Yeah, and so
and
the studio had so little faith in it that they didn't finance it. Spielberg financed it independently through a basically an insurance company, and so
they just distributed it. That was it.
Yeah, it was a negative pickup. It was like whatever Spielberg delivered at that price, they were going to release. And so there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm about it. Like they thought it was a movie that was only going to appeal to kids. Universal and Columbia both felt that, but I think for Universal it was more important to foster the relationship with Spielberg. But but it was a very complicated situation, and obviously, there was Night Skies fallout as well, because all the main players from Night Skies had to be jettisoned for one reason or another. I think it's just it's really fascinating to look at it as an independent movie because it was shot in, like you said, Culver City. It was shot at Laird Studios, which at the same time they were shooting E.T. This will tell you what level E.T. was at. At the same time they were shooting E.T., they were also shooting at Laird, The Sword and the Sorcerer.
Wow.
So that's the level E.T. was at.
Shit level.
Yeah, it was at the shit level. And
it's
most
so
of
interesting to imagine Steven Spielberg at like this guy might be cooked phase of his career. Like and like that persisted because he'd already done Indiana Jones, right? Like that wasn't enough to like
he had not done Indiana Jones.
He did Raiders 81. He did
Raiders had not been released until E.T. was in like the very beginnings of pre-production. But even at that point, he couldn't
it was still 1941 was the last thing that he had released.
Right.
At the time all the deals and stuff were made, yes. That makes
correct. A lot more sense now. Wow.
Yes. And 1941
what a great time to buy Spielberg stock, man. Like the last good buy price you could get.
Yeah. No, and Spielberg was under a lot of pressure too because basically a lot of his payment for the movie for E.T. was tied into points. And if he had gone over budget on E.T. like he had on 1941, Close Encounters, Jaws, if he'd gone over budget on E.T., it would have come out of his points.
And so is this the movie that like basically made his money? Like is this like where he like basically like made this is like where he made his fortune? He
was a millionaire for sure.
Right.
By the time, probably by Jaws.
Right.
And certainly had participation in Close Encounters and certainly got paid a chunk of change for 1941. But I think, he didn't become like a multi like, whatever, eight digit millionaire until after E.T. Because he was when E.T. came out, at one point he was making $500,000 a day off of his points. Is insane because nobody expected it. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody internally saw it coming. Spielberg himself had a lot of doubts because you have to remember too, like he couldn't even get he tried to hire William Fraker to shoot it, tried to hire Vittorio Storaro to shoot it. He eventually got Alan Daviau, who was the guy who shot Amblin, his
his first short film.
His first short film and most of the crew was very untried. Kathleen Kennedy was like 26 or something. She never produced a fucking movie in her life. She had been a PA 3 years before this.
Yep.
It's an unbelievable story, and it's crazy that to me, like just in writing the book, like nobody has really looked at it for real. Like a lot of the stuff that's written about E.T. is almost feels like it's written for children because it's a children's movie.
Right.
But it's like, no, like my book, don't let your kids read my book. My book is hard. My book is hard R-rated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm sure people probably approach this topic as if it were inevitable, right? Like, oh, of course, this is E.T. This is the thing, and it came out, and it would change the world. But yeah, that makes sense that it really had a bunch of different lives.
Yeah,
as it was getting there.
It's almost the opposite of Dune, because Dune starts as an overdog story, like, oh my god, we got the biggest budget of any science fiction movie ever made,
right?
Like we're making bed sheets, we're making party hats,
coloring books.
Yeah, coloring books, and E.T. Yeah, like nobody saw it coming. It was like truly like a Rocky kind of story, and yeah, I think that's what made it wonderful for me. It's almost the two books almost make good bookends because
that's great.
They're like the opposite, but yeah.
Well, I want to get into the kids, right? Just the cat.
Yeah, this is one of my points.
It's just absolutely unbelievable. The performances that we have are so good. And Dee Wallace is amazing. I was just so struck by her this time watching it. And the scene where you get to Mexico and he hates Mexico and how effectively and efficiently, and it sort of becomes
they do
a runner,
the whole divorce. Yeah.
That they roll through, but it
My
works.
daddy's in Mexico.
Just really incredible to see these kids and her doing this performance, and it makes the movie work.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's another really cool parallel when you're talking about Dee Wallace's role as Mary. I think there's a really interesting parallel with. Do you guys show your kids Totoro?
Yeah.
Love Totoro.
If you watch Totoro, it's very similar because like the dad in Totoro is a mess. He's a complete mess.
Yeah, he forgets to make lunch.
Yeah, and he doesn't have. It's very similar to Dee Wallace's character. It's like he doesn't have like a big breakdown. He doesn't have he doesn't show it to. But it's like he's forgetting to make the lunches. He's falling asleep in the middle of the day. Like
May's gone. Like May's gone. For
kids are just doing whatever.
Wandering the countryside.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean that's a cool component though of the movie too. Like the movie is, I think what makes it subversive is that specific element, of like of children having autonomy and also kind of having the upper hand over the grown-ups in their
parents.
lives. Yeah.
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 And also just the innocence of the kids, right? Like whether it's luring them in with the Reese's Pieces or the idea of like the explaining first contact and how that works. There's always something really magical about trying to do that, but it can also become really trying where you're trying to get through that communication.
Mm-hmm.
And we did Starman this year, and that had such a great job, right, of Jeff making the journey to awareness. But just that whole thing of him explaining action figures and this is the pig and you put the money inside the pig and it's so funny how a kid's brain works.
I did that was the thing I wanted to bring up that you just mentioned with the action figures, because there's the scene where Elliot is showing E.T. This is Lando Calrissian and
Hammerhead and
it's like Hammerhead,
Snaggletooth,
Walrus Man. It's like those three specifically.
Yeah,
those three Star Wars characters were designed by Ron Cobb.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't put that in my book either. Like I just noticed it last night. I'm like, oh shit, that might have been another nod from Steven to Ron, because like Ron is also in the movie. You probably don't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Who did he play?
He's one of the guys who wheels E.T. out after he dies. He's got glasses and a beard.
Yeah,
big burly guy. Yeah, that's Ron.
Totally.
Oh, wow.
So that's it's a really, there's a lot of really cool connections between the finished movie and that project. And by the way, like for people listening, Night Skies is one of the most available unproduced scripts. In terms of, I think it's been on the internet for like over 2 decades. Like I downloaded it like at least 20 years ago. And
has Scarlotta done it? Have they done it on Best Movies Never Made?
That was their first episode.
I
think their avatar is Buddy from Night Skies. But it's like they and those guys are great.
Scarlatta's coming back. He's coming back in a couple of weeks for Jason. Finally, deeper, bluer.
Deep blue sea, deepest,
Oh, nice.
bluest. My hat is like a shark's fin. Deepest, bluest.
We're getting there.
Yeah. No,
I'm
yeah.
ready.
He's the guy to talk to for that. But like, no, but there's. Yeah, like if you're listening to this and you're and you're curious and you want to like bone up before my book comes out, or you want to do your like read the script. It is out there and you can. It's great, It even has John Sayles did these like blueprints of these like overhead views of the house and the farmstead. So you can actually like kind of see what he had in mind in terms of the breakdown of the action that happens. Yeah, because unlike the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter of 1955, the aliens never came into the house. But in the Night Skies of the movie, the aliens way come in the house and cause all kinds of problems.
Interesting.
That was crazy.
So my notes on the kid stuff was like the performances that he gets out of these kids is amazing, and I guess they used a lot of improv in like the auditions for it, and then also in the process of shooting it. And Spielberg,
wasn't that like the Jaws scene at the dinner table? Wasn't that improv as well?
It must have been. And like he used a lot of. He shot the movie chronologically. He shot the movie in sequence mostly.
Yeah.
So that like when the kids would like say goodbye to E.T. at the end, like they'd already been through this like journey with him, and like they tried to make the puppet very real for the kids, which it was to like Drew Barrymore, and like but I mean like the performance he gets out of Drew Barrymore is fucking ridiculous. I mean like
it's insane.
She is so emotive. Like it was pretty crazy. Like watching this movie, like I don't know, like Drew Barrymore was like 6, I think, when they made this movie, like
something like that. Yeah. 5 or 6,
and like and my daughter was like watching this movie on my lap, and she was like, my daughter's 5.5, and so like like seeing like a kid like in this movie who like is very much like at the age that your own daughter is at was crazy, and they're just going through this whole like emotional experience of like meeting E.T. and screaming, like just everything. But like seeing the movie like primarily as a vehicle for Drew Barrymore was really amazing to me, and Henry Thomas is amazing. Has a really tough job to do in this movie, and does a great job too. So
and Robert McNaughton also.
Yes, I was so impressed by the kids in this movie, and like just how they carried this thing.
Drew is so funny and also really sad. And like I just could not believe how good her performance was. It really it is lightning in a bottle for sure.
Yeah.
You can kind of understand.
It was
why.
really smart casting too, because it was in terms of the dynamic between the actors, because it's like Drew was not super experienced. Henry had just done his first movie just prior to this called Raggedy Man, and but Robert McNaughton, he'd done Shakespeare, and he was really, really experienced young actor, and so he kind of, pulled the team together. He was the ringer, and even though he has like kind of the least showy of the three,
and Tom Howell as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed.
C. Thomas.
Oh, C. Thomas,
I forgot he was in it.
Yeah, this was before he was Pony Boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Red Dawn.
And before he was almost Marty McFly.
Yeah.
But like, he's the whole gang is really cool, and
that shot of them putting their headphones on and pulling their hats on and stuff. I was like, okay, yep, we see you, Stranger Things. We see
that's exactly. No, that's where the vibe comes from. Yeah, they created
all of it. Those the Amblin vibes on this are obviously so classic. There's something about the Southern California, locations, but obviously JJ learned all of his lens flare stuff from Spielberg doing that here. There's just so many homages of everything. It's just been so lifted. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and they too like they Henry is giving such an incredible performance. Like he carries every scene of the movie.
Yeah, he's going to be in the whole movie.
And he'd only done one movie before this. No training, just like, like he was just extremely intuitive, and and they never treat him like a little kid. They treat him as a little adult, and I think that's great. Like, even like, when they're at the dinner table and he's like, they're probably just gonna dissect him and all this stuff. Like that's very intelligent thing for a little kid, to say. It's like, the whole idea is, like that, and this was Melissa Matheson's, big contribution. It's like, she started as a babysitter. She actually babysat for Francis Coppola. She
like Roman and Sophia or whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they, and she was also dating Harrison Ford at this time, and she based a lot of Elliot off of Harrison Ford's kids, and Harrison had a part in the movie that was cut, but as the principal. But it's her whole thing was like, don't talk down, don't treat them like children, like treat them as people with intelligence. And I think that was the right way to go. And generally, when people try to do this vibe in different movies and TV shows or whatever, if they're failing, that's what they're failing at.
Totally.
It's
Totally.
sort of the big thing when Tom Hanks is describing, his character in Big. He's like, he's like, if a kid was in an office building, the kid wouldn't spin around in the chair. The kid would get on the computer and try to, do some shit with the computer or whatever.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. Jason, I just want to ask you the storytelling motion of cutting back and forth with keys and the feds kind of as a propulsive force. Like, what was your take on that?
I never noticed the keys before. I never noticed the keys as like and my kids clocked it right away. They're like, what are these keys for? Like, they were immediately very anxious about the keys, which I thought was interesting.
It's Freudian.
And what do the keys stand for? What do we think it, like, what, in what ways? What do you mean?
It's like, it's his dick. It's his dick. I don't know. Yeah, like he's like the big swinging dick.
I see.
Yeah. And it's, and then eventually he becomes, in the framing of the shots with him and Dee, he becomes sort of the insinuated father figure at the end.
Well, that, I mean, on that point, this wasn't one of my points, but like, when we talked about, we did Totoro on this podcast, didn't we? Or did we not? Have we not done it?
We haven't done Totoro, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, like the thing that I thought was interesting in this is, like Totoro, E.T., there's no antagonist. There's like ostensibly the feds are the antagonists, and like they do actually serve that role structurally because they're a threat. But in reality, like the principal Fed ends up being an ally in the movie. And like, yes, they're chased by like sort of like nameless Fed, forces through like, that's the point. But it's not like it's a much softer antagonist than in a traditional structure. And so like, I had forgotten that aspect of it as well. That like, I was like, oh, this guy actually ends up being on their side, which I thought was interesting. I do like, it's again on like something we talked about as long ago as Arrival. It's like the competent federal authorities paradox, which is just like, they figure out where this alien is. And then like when they're ready to move in, like they move in. And my kids were super freaked out that like it was like astronauts that were coming to.
That was weird. That was a weird choice.
Like they just come in, they're like, like, I was like,
yeah, he's making like Darth Vader sound effects, yeah. And Ben Burt, who did the sound for Star Wars, also did the sound for this. Yeah. And I was very I was very taken by that, scene where Elliot and what's the brother's name? Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Elliot and Michael are talking, they're smelling their dad's shirt and they're talking about their dad. So like and the Fed is listening. And it's like, originally they're talking about E.T., but then they start talking about their father. And the Fed is listening, and they keep cutting back to the Fed to emphasize like what a violation that is.
Jason, what was the warrant on that? That was my question. What was the warrant those guys had for we're going to drive down the street and listen to every house?
Listen to everybody. Listen, it was the Reagan era. You could do anything. Like it was, like Weinberger was just like, go fucking get that alien.
Casper, go get him.
Yeah.
Go get him. Let's see. What is your last point, Max? Anything you want to make sure that we hit? I know we've got a lot, and there's more.
More honorable mentions for sure.
Oh yeah.
I've got one last point too.
I don't know. I mean, I think I think the big takeaway for me is just because a movie is a classic doesn't mean it couldn't have not been a classic. So basically, what I mean by that is like, if you go back, Star Wars is a weird movie.
Mhm.
Forrest Gump is a weird movie. Like the chances of those movies bombing is just as good as them becoming the biggest movies of all time. So Titanic is a really crazy gamble. It's like and I mean that's a little bit less weird, but like that's a little more mainstream. But I think like it's the same thing. It's like once a movie is as stratospherically successful as E.T., you tend to forget its idiosyncrasies, its quirks, and the personal touches that Stephen brought to it, and Melissa, and I think hopefully when people read my book, it'll not only give them the story of Night Skies and what that could have been, because that could have also been a big hit, but like and then when Signs and Nope came out, like those were big hits. So like, but E.T., like I think it now that we're so far away from 1982, it's like it really does deserve a new reckoning and people looking at it with fresh eyes and not as part of a canon or part of as required viewing or you're my kid, you have to love this. Just like
Sure.
can you approach E.T. through virgin eyes, through.
But I do want to just, you talked about this from the cultural footprint of it. So like, let's talk about this for a minute. So even like just starting with the Reese's Pieces, right? That was a huge thing. And what was the deal?
It was a huge thing.
M&M's wouldn't.
Turned it down.
They just said we don't think this movie is going to be a thing.
Steven
we don't want to be
Spielberg's
associated.
sus. We're not into Steven Spielberg. We don't want to be in the Steven Spielberg business.
Coors had no problem with a drunk 10-year-old.
Was ready. A drunk kid. Yeah,
great.
you couldn't do that. That's again on that 80s list that you could not do that.
Yeah. One of the things I talk about in the book is there was actually a campaign in 1983, an anti-drunk driving campaign.
Sure.
With E.T. as a bartender. And this was
Be
through
good.
This was through Coors. Coors put these out and gave them to bars, and you can find it online. It's insane.
I'll be right here at the bar, not driving home.
Yeah.
Oh my
Don't
God!
drive home.
Yeah, it's very misguided.
Well,
Seems
what
great.
about?
I don't know.
All right,
I don't know what's wrong with that.
Listen, well, we have to get we can't leave the elephant in the room. Obviously, we have to talk about Heartlight. Like,
yes.
Heartlight, yes.
Okay, what? How did this happen? What is the deal?
Yeah, what's the whole story there?
I mean, apparently Neil Diamond saw the movie and was really taken by it, and went home and
wrote a song,
jotted down a song with Burt Bacharach, like you
notes?
do.
What?
Hey, and I believe it was actually Neil Diamond's last song to chart.
Wow.
Yeah.
But wait,
what
they
was the
were
turnaround
sued?
time? Like, how soon did they turn the movie?
I think it was really quick. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
I think he saw it before it came out, and it was just like, this is going to be a thing. But there were a lot of songs tied to E.T. There were like Alvin and the Chipmunks did a song. There were Mexican songs. They're like Donde Está la E.T. or whatever. Like there were a lot.
I love Donde Está E.T.
there's a lot of weird things associated with and again. You probably wouldn't read about them in an official book because they're all just like, this is a mainstream thing for kids and da 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 da. But it's
he
like,
got sued. Neil got sued.
Yeah, he got sued. I don't think it was a huge thing. I think it was like a $25,000 fine or something. But like,
that's it.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge.
They didn't
deal.
have to give up. Like Universal didn't demand like royalties for the song.
I don't know. I mean, the song itself kind of vanished after into the ether.
Turn on your hot light.
Yeah.
In
the middle of a young boy's dream.
Yeah.
It's great.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, then the last one, obviously, we cannot forget the one that kind of broke a million hearts. E.T.
The video game.
Right?
Yeah.
Atari.
Mm-hmm.
Really There's a whole documentary on that, right?
Yeah. Really bad idea. Yeah, and strange that, for somebody who's known for, having such great instincts, Spielberg was the one who really torpedoed that project because it was him that demanded that it
The
be
timing.
out by Christmas of
Yeah.
1982.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
he made a full buttload of money from that game, but the
Right.
game itself is
Wow.
a disaster.
The
I-
game
I
itself is
had
a real
it.
sore point. I had it too, because it's
had
like
it.
when you're that age, the age of the 2600, like you just got whatever game
Yeah.
there was, and you were gonna play that fucking game. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like you could just switch to something else. Like my son nowadays, like downloads like free
Right.
Minecraft mods, and if it's not one he wants, it's like, all right, we're moving on to another one. Or it's like, so that's like always. That's always something. That's
I
always
couldn't even
like,
make it work when I had my Atari.
It was unplayable.
Yeah.
It was unplayable. Yeah, truly. Yeah.
That is crazy. That's crazy. My only other honorable mention, I think we hit everything. Oh, I have two. First one, I love the kids playing D&D.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were playing they were playing probably a D&D is my guess, but there is a reference to THACO. You know what THACO
Yeah.
stands for? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, 2-hit armor class 0.
Yeah. Okay. You pass. You can stay.
And they were
So
really playing. Like those kids were all like, that was part of the audition process. Was there was another actor. I talk about this in the book. There was another
DM.
No, there was another kid actor who
You thought I wasn't going to know THACO. That's interesting. Shows how little.
There was another kid actor who was going to be Elliot, who they had cast, and but they did they did a chemistry thing with a bunch of other kids, and it was a D&D game. And apparently, this kid was so obnoxious, and everybody hated him during the D&D campaign that they're like, okay, we gotta get another kid.
Oh, this kid fucking sucks. I saw the scene.
God.
There's on video. You can see the scene where where Henry Thomas gets the part.
Yeah.
And he does this like emotional recounting of something that happened to his dog or something like that, like as like a way of making himself cry. And like it's this very evocative performance. And Spielberg's like, all right, kid, you got the part.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the first time, like, Spielberg had made, I think, what was it, 4 or 5 other movies at this point, but that was the first time he ever cast somebody in the room.
Yeah.
So like you can't overstate how freaking good Henry Thomas was.
He was really great.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the filmmaking a little bit, like the cinematography. So, like one of the things I thought was really interesting, so there's this whole thing where it's like shot from a kid's perspective. It's shot low, and like, you don't see any other adults in the movie except for the mom until late. Like the reveal of the scientist guy is super late. And I think that's interesting. Like that's a fun choice. But like the thing that I really liked about it the most was like there's like sort of a movie magic to how some of it's made, which is like trash cans get knocked over and there's like glowing soft light from like, the garden shed and things like that in a way that like feels, unusual and surprising. Like
magical.
I really liked all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, that child's perspective shooting thing was done on another movie the year before called Time Bandits.
So good.
So it wasn't a Spielberg invention, but it definitely played a huge part. And I believe that the idea of shooting it that way came from Melissa. Melissa was a huge part of the process. Like she was on set every day.
That's
she
crazy.
worked with the actors. A lot of people talk about the whole Toby and Spielberg poltergeist thing, but it's like, this was like the positive version of that, where like she was,
that's great.
She was almost like a co-director of the film, and she gets an associate producer credit, but like, and another thing that hit me that you guys just reminded me of is what's really interesting about the movie is it when I'm a kid, this movie feels like it's taking place over, like it's a real epic. And I'm watching it now. I'm like, this movie takes place over like 4 days max.
Yeah, it cooks. Oh yeah,
yeah.
And once you're a parent, you understand that, because I've seen my kids make intense emotional attachments, to other kids or other adults in like an hour.
Right.
So
right.
So the idea of Elliot becoming that attached to E.T., who is this incredibly special being, and like that's, that definitely rings true. And just his arc as well, like the whole arc of the movie is Elliot not just learning to let go, but learning to realize, other people have feelings, other people, have different needs, and so the place he starts from is, he's mine, I'm keeping him. And then it ends with him being able to let go, and that extends back, to even like to losing his dad, like, and all the stuff that's going on in the undercurrent of the movie. Yeah.
I love that. He did not entertain going to, whatever, Area B or whatever with Rocky to go live on that planet, but that might have been another option. But
yeah,
dang. The other thing I'll call out, I was glad they undid the 20th anniversary changes where they changed all the guns to walkie-talkies or whatever. So Spielberg thought better.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
it was, and so they got rid of all that. They CG'd that and then de-CG'd it, which seems like a good.
Yeah. He talked about that. For some reason, I didn't talk about that much in my book. I think one other director mentions it. But like it's just it's an interesting thing that he was like, in the period he's making some of his darkest movies. AI, Minority Report, War of the Worlds. He makes that decision to take all the guns out of E.T., which is incredibly conservative, incredibly reactionary.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, like older man decision to make that does, obviously did not help the movie and made a lot of people mad.
Right.
And then
it just like it was the time, it was the same time George was doing the specials. Like, so maybe there was just like there was like some kind of, we're just going to fucking, we're just going to do this. Like,
we're going to tinker.
It wasn't just removing the guns either. He made E.T. CGI in a lot of the scenes. I think he added in some deleted scenes that he couldn't do back in the 80s, so that he could do with CGI. They look terrible, by the way, if you go back and you watch them. And then he very smartly and wisely, just a few years later, I think it was like around 2008.
That was fucking dumb.
Around 2008, he just said that was a bad idea.
That's good.
I'm not even going to release.
Scrub the internet.
I'm not even going to release those versions anymore.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
The E.T. being CGI reminds me of, I told Griffin we were going to watch this movie from when I was a kid, and he was like, man, is it an 80s movie? I was like, it is. He's like, are the graphics going to be really bad? And I was like, well, I was like, that's not going to be like Spider-Man Brand New Day, but like, they were really, cutting edge, like, for the time. He's like, well, what was like so advanced in the 80s? Was it just like, were you impressed if you had flashing lights? Is that what you thought was cool?
Oh, shots fired.
Burn. That's cold.
And then he's like, when Grandma was a girl, did they even have flashing lights yet in movies, or had that not been invented?
Yeah. But let me just put that into perspective for you for a moment.
Yeah.
When was the last time you guys sat down and watched Forbidden Planet?
I've never seen Forbidden Planet. I really want to see it. Yeah, it's a good point. Are there flashing lights?
I watched it a week ago, but like that's neither here nor there. But like most people can't associate with the stuff from 3 or 4 decades prior. And it's like like, I mean, it really knocked me for a loop one day when I realized, like, I remember thinking, like, okay, I am now farther from Back to the Future than Casablanca was when Back to the Future came out.
Right. No, it's weird. Time is doing some crazy shit. It's putting the whammy on us.
Yeah.
It's putting the whammy on us. Guys, who would Tilda Swinton play if you had to recast one role in this film? I'm going to go with Keys.
Yeah.
I'd like to see her there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Her and Dee could get together. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously E.T. like would be, come on. Like, I mean, is it that much of a stretch? Like the cheekbones and the big eyes. Like, I think it's like would need minimal cosmetic work. Not that, the stature would have to be shortened.
Well, the dirty secret to E.T. is that E.T. is actually many, many people. He's not even just a puppet. Like there's a little person named Pat Dillon who is in the suit for some shots. There was another actor, I forget his name, who was didn't have legs, who was in some shots. There's a woman named Caprice who's doing a lot of the hand stuff. A lot, because Carlo Rambaldi was fucking incompetent. So like most of the hand stuff is actually just a mime with gloves on. And and then the voice, is partly
that's
this
Ben,
woman named
right?
Pat Welch.
Okay.
And it's also Deborah Winger.
Huh.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah.
And then Ben Burt did the processing on it. I saw it said it's
Yeah. And there's a whole like modern, conversation about the fact that even though Elliot says in the film that E.T. is a boy, he's actually he can be any sex, or
Yeah,
he can be
he
no
can be
sex. Like
Of course.
he can be
Of
whatever
course.
you want him to be. So he could
It's
be
funny,
Tilda
like
Swinton.
whether or not E.T. was a boy was like a really big question.
Big question.
For my kids. They were like, it was like, what is this thing? Is it a boy or a girl?
Actually, having said all that, maybe Tilda Swinton is E.T. I don't know. Like she could be in there somewhere. We don't know.
It works.
Yeah.
Movie magic, baby. Movie magic. All right, guys, can we do some quick voicemails?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. First voicemail.
This is your brother, Animal Mother.
All right, let's do this.
In what definitely had to be a more innocent time, America fell hopelessly in love with the original poop emoji. Okay. Sorry, he's cute. Sure. Granted, this is a benign, family-friendly, Norman Rockwellish sci-fi take on cross-cultural communication. And I'm not claiming here to represent the entire immigrant community, but we generally look and sound better. D.B. Berger is a genius with a portfolio of unimpeachably perfect cinematic jewels. But sometimes, not always, when he gets into alien territory, I'll shut up now. It's fine. Sure. This is reality, Greg, because these three is the most endearing. E.T., Pikachu, or Baby Drew Barrymore. Thank you all. See you at the walkie-talkie armory, and keep the change, you filthy
Drew Barrymore, obviously the cutest of all of them.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
What were the other choices?
Adorable.
Pikachu and what?
Pikachu.
Just
And
Pikachu
E.T.
or Drew? Oh, and E.T.?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Drew. Yeah. Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a little blonde girl, a little 4-year-old blonde girl. So yeah.
Yeah. You have a real extra connection.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah, and she definitely connected. Like, she was just playing with the cat most of the movie, but like when Drew was on screen, she's like, "Oh, there's me."
I mean, the reveal of the Tea Party E.T. is like such a classic
So
shot.
cute.
Like,
That's so cute.
That's really special.
And of course, there's a whole thing of like Spielberg also dressed in drag on set, I think, that day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Can I raise a question about E.T.?
Mm-hmm.
The creature E.T.
Mhm.
Despite their ability to master interstellar travel and possessing, sort of telekinetic, telepathic, healing, amazing powers generally, maybe just an idiot E.T., like maybe kind of dumb, or like maybe like stoners of space. Like, I mean, like they're just
all
going
those
around
mushrooms, all those mushrooms
gathering
they're
herbs
growing.
and mushrooms. They don't wear clothes. That's weird. And like they, doesn't seem like, just seems like kind of be bungling his way through like a being stranded on another planet situation. Like is like, yeah, I guess I'll fuck around with these kids and put on outfits and like, like it doesn't seem particularly smart in any
I mean,
way.
he does make an
Is E.T. a moron?
intergalactic
That's my
communication
question.
device with a fucking
They're good at
saw
the
and a
engineering
fork.
part. They're good. They're kind of the Pac-Leds of the Steven Spielberg universe, where they've somehow figured out like warp technology, but like are not smart. Like
We are smart.
They wish to be smart, but they are not smart.
Yeah.
That's my thesis.
No, yeah, that he's definitely like some kind of a space hippie.
Stoner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's they're just there to like collect some herbs so they can go
Collect some
follow the
herbs.
dead on tour or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Animal Mother. Here is our next voicemail. Mr. Java. All right, Java, lay it on us.
Behind he was gardening a bit for funsies. His Reese's piece in his breath, it was not a lie. Men in black were around the town asking, have you seen this weird little guy? He said from Uranus to speak, and then she dressed him up so fine. The science teacher said, whoa, this boy is drunk. Men in black were around the town asking all around, have you ever seen this weird little guy? Hey, I'd like to know, did you have any wild bike antics as a kid? Some big adventures maybe you want to share? Did you ever do something that caused a federal agent to point a weapon at you when you were a child? Dangerous times, the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
Nice.
That was great. That was great. Good job, Mr. Java.
Very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I've told this story before, but I got lost in the woods on a winter's day with a bunch of other kids, just like going up the creek. And like, yeah, like kids lost their shoes in the frozen pond and got separated. And it was like a real, like,
What?
just, is someone going to die of hypothermia on the journey?
Yikes.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was just like, yeah, like, let's let our kids just like wander through the woods and like up a creek. And like, yeah, so everyone survived as far as I know. I mean, I did. Yeah. Yeah, so that happened.
I definitely had the experience of just jumping on my bike or just walking to the beach. It was like 1.5 miles away. We would just, my brothers and I, we would just walk down, cross A1A, 4 lanes of traffic, and just go to the beach and, you know, play in the waves for hours on end, and then come back at some point later in the afternoon and check in. So it was very much free range childhood, I would say.
Yeah.
And it was good.
Yeah.
I got arrested for fireworks possession as a teen.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Living on the
Yeah.
edge.
What
Yeah.
were they? MA?
Yeah, like just
Roman
like
candles?
I mean, just nothing. Yeah, something in the Roman candle class. Yeah,
Rebel.
yeah,
Rebel.
yeah.
You got one, Max? You got a radical story?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I definitely.
You can take the fifth. It's okay. You can take the
I
fifth.
definitely.
on this podcast.
There was some kind of antics. I don't know, but not too terribly much. But yeah, but just I think I mentioned earlier. It was just like latchkey kid from age 7, which that like and it was like there was a key under a plant in the backyard. And it's and I'd go grab the key, I would go in the house, and then I was just by my freaking self.
Will you get a snack and then watch Star Trek, or like what?
Well, this is fun. Well, this is the dangerous part. I'm doing air quotes again. My dad worked for the cable company, so we had access to all the pay-per-views for free. So I was like, so if there was a movie I liked, I would just watch it over and over on a loop, because that's how they would do it. You would unlock a channel for 24 hours, and the movie would just be playing on a loop. And RoboCop, like all sorts of inappropriate stuff,
Yeah.
But it is interesting to me that I can go back and it's like, yeah, I watched RoboCop 20 times, but I still like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it's like it didn't taint any of my childishness. It was just a cool movie that I got to watch. My dad took me to see Brazil when I was 5 years old.
That's crazy.
It's just like
That's pretty nuts,
as long as the stuff is put in context, it's fine.
I don't know what the context your dad would have given you about Brazil, but
yeah, but it's one of my favorite movies now. So
it's absolutely one of my favorite movies. But I saw it when I was 20.
Whatever he did, it worked.
It worked.
That's great.
It worked. All right. Thank you so much, Java. Here's our next voicemail.
The truth sayer.
Give us the truth.
Hey, y'all, Beria here. Man, I love E.T. Movie that gives us Dee Wallace as Mary, the warm, slightly overwhelmed suburban mom at the center of one of the greatest films ever made. What Spielberg knew and what the audience sensed was that Wallace brought genuine weight to that role. She earned it, because in the years before E.T., Dee Wallace was surviving things considerably worse than a lost alien in a tool shed. Today's Truthsayer, 5 horror films from Dee Wallace's resume. Or are for real is fiction. Find the film she wasn't in. Time for the Truthsayer. Number 1, The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Lynn Wood, a vacationing mother whose family breaks down in the Nevada desert and finds something terrible waiting. Or is it number 2, Pumpkinhead from 1988? Ruth Highfield, a tight-lipped rural shopkeeper who warns a grieving father that summoning a demon will cost him everything. Or is it number 3, The Howling from 1981? Karen White, a television journalist sent to recover at a mountain retreat populated entirely by werewolves. Or is it number 4, Cujo? Donna Trenton, trapped in a broken-down car with her son while a rabid St. Bernard circles outside. Or is it number 5, Critters from 1986? Helen Brown, a Kansas farm mother whose quiet life is interrupted by carnivorous alien furballs. The Hills Have Eyes, Pumpkinhead, The Howling, Cujo, or Critters? Which of these 5 horror films did Dee Wallace not actually appear in?
Wow.
Wow, what a crazy category.
Can I say what it is? Yeah.
I'm going to go with Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
It's Pumpkinhead?
It is Pumpkinhead, yeah.
I wanted to be Critters, though. Critters was a freaky one, man. Critters really did a number on me as a kid.
I never saw Critters. Let's hear the answer, and then you can give us more detail.
Did you figure out the answer? It's number 2. Dee Wallace was not in Pumpkinhead, but she absolutely should have been. The woman survived cannibals and werewolves and a rabid St. Bernard and alien furballs, and then turned around and played the most comforting mom in science fiction history.
Yeah.
Dee Wallace contains multitudes. Here ends the truth.
Great one. A great one from the Trusair.
Yeah.
Is the Howling? Is that Gregory Hines? And
No,
Albert Finney?
you're thinking of Wolfen.
Wolfen. Damn it.
Wolfen.
There you go. No, the Howling. Howling
Yeah,
is directed by Joe Dante, who later did Gremlins, and written by John Sayles, who wrote Night Skies.
Wow. But is it
yeah.
it's like pretty sexy,
The Howling,
as I recall?
a little bit. Yeah, it's got some
Okay.
sexy stuff in it. I mean, it's basically it's a really fun kind of postmodern take on werewolves because it's like a commune kind of. It's
Right.
like a new,
It's like a cult?
like a new age cult commune of werewolves who are trying not to eat people, by eating cattle or whatever. But and she's in the middle of this group of werewolves. Yeah, and Critters also has fun connections because I think Critters, the script it takes a ton of stuff from the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, and I believe personally from Night Skies. I think whoever wrote
Red. Yeah.
Critters read Night Skies. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, special shout out to Beria for having run Pod Data Central for us all these many years at this point, which was the inspiration for so much of our vibe-coded podcast engine, a real mensch and a servant to the community. We love you, Beria.
Thank you so much, Beria. Okay, here we go. We got 2 more real quick.
Escape Hatch, hey, it's Kev here. Hard to believe we are finally here. Steven Spielberg's E.T., a movie about a kid really going through some stuff who finds solace in an imaginary friend who is all too real, and they fucking kill him. Even now, as an adult, it is hard for me to not feel in the moment that E.T. is fucking dead. And it's also hard for me, impossible in fact, to not immediately tear up even thinking about the John Williams cue when they're hitting the road. Wow. Even it's 8:21 a.m. on Tuesday, August 4th, and I am tearing up even singing it in the Kev's question. Wow. The kids are hitting the road and they're defying the government and they're going to go bring E.T. home. It's hard not to well up and get emotional. I've seen it in IMAX and 35 millimeter and shitty DVD version where they painted over the guns with walkie-talkies, and it never loses. Even in that shitty 2002 version, it never loses its power. Kev's question. Did you guys have imaginary friends growing up? Did you ever have friends only you could see that you grew out of? The imaginary friend. Did you have it? If not, who was your confidant? Who was your best friend growing up? With peace and love, I'll talk to you all very soon.
Once again, it's Kev's questions.
That's great. That's great.
Really great.
Great question. The emotionality of the movie, I think, shouldn't be discounted in E.T. Like when, it still fucking works when they fly on those bikes. It's still pretty exciting. And the I'll be right here still crushes. They really do a good job. I did not have an imaginary friend. One detail I like that's horrifying is that Mr. Snuffleupagus was Big Bird's imaginary friend on Sesame Street, and they had to reveal Mr. Snuffleupagus at some point because it was bad child safety to continue to tell kids to that they should keep things from their parents, or that there would be that there's things that their parents wouldn't understand or whatever. It was became a thing that child welfare advocates were against. So that's a bummer.
Wait, so Snuffleupagus was Tyler Durden?
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Snuffleupagus is Tyler Durden. I did not have an imaginary friend, but I'll shout out Aaron Fagerstrom, still in the Discord, is my longest and oldest best friend. We met when we were in 2nd grade, and he still listens to this podcast occasionally. So that's what real friends are. People who you meet when you're 8 will still listen to your podcast.
That's amazing. I did not have an imaginary friend either, and my closest confidant was Glenn Shepard. I went to
the astronaut.
Starting with kindergarten, and just a great kid. We would go to the beach, we would hang out, and then later, Jason, when in 1984 or 85, he's the one who was like, "Okay, check out this band. They're called New Order."
Oh, that's great! What a gift!
You will like it. So
an astronaut who loves New Order. It's the best.
Yeah, perfect. Max, how about you?
I don't remember having any imaginary friends, but I remember from a very young age seeing the Henry Thomas vehicle, A Cloak and Dagger, where
Dabney Coleman?
Yes, where Dabney Coleman plays both his real dad and his sort of superhero spy imaginary friend Jack Black. And and I remember being kind of envious. I'm like, wow, he gets an imaginary friend. How do I get one of those? But yeah, I think I was just too, I don't know, too cerebral or whatever at that point to really believe in anything like that or to make that leap of imagination. But yeah, it was still a good movie.
Oh yeah.
And
we're not doing Cloak and Dagger, but I do want Dabney on the pod, and I do want it to be Tootsie. So like that's probably what's gonna
Dabney's still around?
I don't know. Oh no! I just cover his films.
Okay.
I don't know if he's still around, but God, what a legend! All right, here is our final voicemail.
Love it.
To think that E.T. was totally awesome. And I still believe E.T. is totally awesome. It's a good movie. There's not probably a lot I'm going to be able to say about this that you guys aren't going to cover. So I do love Drew Barrymore in this. She is fucking adorable. Wallace is in my top 3. These moms, her, Jo Beth Williams, and Diane Wiest. Well, those like the best moms of 80s.
That's a great mom set, man.
I'd love what Spielberg does with the homes in these 80s movies, what their kitchen tables look like and all the fucking shit everywhere. I mean, this was really what you thought life in the 80s was, whether you were living it or not. This was the family dynamic. This was everything that was happening, right? Okay. I was going to tell the story about how the lady who used to cut my stepdad's hair used to cut Henry Thomas's hair, and had a long story about that, but it's too long to get into. I'm already at work, so all right. Maybe I'll share it on Discord. Who would Tilda Swinton play T? Right. Love you guys. Thanks for doing this one. It'll be a blast to listen to. Bye.
Bye.
Is it?
That's great.
He didn't really have a question, but I do like that he brought up The Thing.
Yeah.
Because, if people don't realize, like, those movies were both Universal movies, and I think they came out a week apart.
Yeah.
So they were really hedging their bets. They were like, if they want the bad alien, there's the bad alien. If they want the good alien, here's the good alien.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm pretty sure The Thing and Blade Runner came out against each other.
It was The Thing
weekend.
The Thing, Blade Runner, and Megaforce all launched on the same weekend. Yes, a trio of pleasures. I know it, but no, like obviously The Thing and Blade Runner both like out bummered each other.
Yeah.
Hello. There's a cute,
Hi,
adorable,
Junie.
a cute, adorable blonde girl, a la Drew Barrymore, on the podcast.
What do you want to say about your favorite part of E.T.?
I don't know.
What was your favorite joke in it?
My favorite joke was when E.T. woke up and then the boy was crying on the thing.
That was your favorite part?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell people?
Maybe.
What?
When he threw the baseball at the alien and he tossed it back.
Oh yeah. Under the shed. You like that
What
part?
was your favorite part in Spider?
He saw the alien for the first time.
Oh yeah. What was your favorite part in the Spider-Man movie that we saw in the movie theater?
It was when Frank was like, shit this, everybody shit this.
It was the Punisher using the S word a lot. Was her favorite part in the Spider-Man movie. You like that?
Junie, what was your favorite part in Dune Part 2?
Oh yeah, what was your favorite part in Dune Part 2? I'm telling you what he said. What was your favorite part in Dune Part 2?
It was the baby sandworm.
Yeah, the baby sandworm.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
Yeah, your phone.
All right. Okay. That was our shout out for the week. Juniper was jealous that her brother got to be on the pod a couple times. So
okay.
Nice job. Yeah. I have a question for her. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Too long, just right, or not long enough?
Did you think the movie was too long? You had to go pee really bad at the end though, huh? Yeah. You barely made it out the door.
Yeah.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. It was tough to get through. It was tough to get through. All
Amazing.
Right.
Thank you, Junie.
Anything else you want to add? You want to say goodbye? That's nothing. That's all right. Thanks, Junie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Junie.
All right, you can say she's gonna stay, but we can finish the podcast.
Okay, Max, what do you have to plug, my friend?
Well, if you haven't gotten it already, A Masterpiece in Disarray, David Lynch's Dune, an oral history is still available from 1984 Publishing. You can get it wherever books are sold. You can also get the audiobook now from Audible or wherever you get your audiobooks from. I also have a new book, which you might have heard me mention a couple times on this podcast, called Stranded on Earth: How Night Skies Became E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. If you're a Spielberg fan, just buy it. Trust me. Just trust me. And we haven't announced who's in the book yet, but you will like. It's good. Trust me. I spent 2 years trying to get all these people, and it's everyone you would want, except Spielberg. but yeah, it's great, and it's an amazing story. And once you read it, you'll be like, I had no idea that E.T. was this fascinating.
Do you start now circling your next project? Like, do you start looking at stuff and thinking about, like, you doing a RoboCop book? Is that going to be next?
I would honestly, at this point, I would like to do a biography where I only interview one person. That would be the best thing.
Yeah. Get one person to agree and you're good to go.
I'm just, that's it. Because I mean, when I interviewed like 100 people for this book. That's not an exaggeration. And like at a certain point, it becomes like speed dating. It's like, are they gonna call back? It's like, it's just nerve-wracking and horrible. And like I said, I had one key person who I didn't get until the very, very, very last minute. But I'm very glad that I got them. And you guys are just gonna, you're gonna love the book. If you want to know what I want to do next, I want somebody to hire me for anything that makes money, because there's been a lack of that happening while I was writing this book. So if you are a part of a publication or a Blu-ray company or a major metropolitan newspaper, please,
let's do it.
Yeah, hit me up on my website, maxevry.com.
Kino Lorber, those commentaries aren't going to comment themselves.
Nope. No. I already worked for Kino Lorber. I'm doing another one right now. And I have a few coming up from Arrow as well.
I was gonna say Arrow, Vincent, let's go.
Yeah, and I just did my first liner notes for Explorers that Vinegar Syndrome just put out, which was
fun.
That was a dream come true. I love Explorers, and it's another movie we talk about in my book.
Amazing. We have not done Explorers on the pod yet, so we're going to file that away for another day. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.
Goodbye.